cited other stakeholders that are key in the market that are involved in regulation. Whatever we do, we need to ensure that it works within sustainable, it works out as a sustainable initiative, not to degrade the environment that we have to preserve. And I think, as Kosi outlined before, it's one of the key things that actually made Standard Bank to take a lead as part of an initiative to drive such solutions in the local market.
Yeah, I don't know if you can probably join in on this part of the conversation, Kosi. He is talking about also trying to identify the pain points. And I think I know some of the enterprises or businesses that face these pain points are the small and medium enterprises in terms of cash flow. If we sell them the idea of transitioning now to the common type of energy, which is the hydroelectricity provided by the Eswatini Electricity Company, to the renewable energy type of energy, in what way does this become a benefit, particularly in terms of cash flow management? How does this help improve? Because I think we need to have this conversation within a context that help the small business people to appreciate how the transition can help them benefit.
Okay. And John, and if you'll allow me, I'll take it in two parts. I'll take the small businesses and then also the personal as well, because obviously we're here from corporate and business banking, but there's also the personal side as well. I think for what we see as a bank is that obviously in terms of the capital outlay initially, when you're moving into the renewable energies, in energy sector, it might be a little bit hefty, you know, when you're looking at the fact that you've got to make that initial investment around that renewable energy solution that you're actually taking on for your own company. And I'll take a small enterprise, and if you're going into a small enterprise, maybe let's say you're looking at a 1 megawatt plant that you're actually putting up. The capital outlay will be quite high, you know, as you're actually putting that into place. But when you now look at the long-term impact of it, in terms of the costs that you'll cut, you know, around the electricity and the payment of those bills, that actually transitions back into your cash flow as far as your business is concerned. Recognizing as well that there's obviously going to be maintenance, because we know that systems such as solar, there's also maintenance involved as far as that is concerned. But what is also key as well for SMEs and just for companies is the ability to continue production and the ability to continue manufacturing. If we look at South Africa today, the reason that they have such challenges is because there is no power to power either a small enterprise or to power a big enterprise. So as far as the energy security is concerned, it will have a capital outlay as you start, but in the long term, you are actually looking at the benefits of being able to continue with your business as well and providing the services that you're providing. And then on the personal side, I think it's just for us to also reiterate as well as a bank that we do also look at funding solar solutions or solutions around renewable energy. And this has now been put into when you are building a house or putting a property up, looking at integrating that, because that is what we want to look at around energy security as well. It's not just around the big corporations, it's not just around the small and medium enterprises or the business banking clients, but also from a personal banking perspective, that you as well as the Swazi out there or the Swati out there are able to actually continue having energy or an energy source going forward as well.
Of course, and I think, Mr. Mazia, we also need to try and make it easy for those who are listening to this conversation right now, in particular the target market that Standard Bank is looking at. You know, we are not just having this conversation in vain. We understand the ultimate goal. If we are talking about the SME sector being a part of the constituency that needs to start appreciating the changes or the goal or the vision that Standard Bank has for them in terms of trying to provide some ease in terms of doing business, we need to also try and provide the definition in terms of who those businesses are. It is easy for a business like mine, I'm just making an example, to think I am, according to the classifications of Standard Bank, to think I'm a small and medium enterprise. But within your bracket, within your definition, within your context, what is an SME business that possibly stands a chance to have a discussion with you in terms of whether or not they can transition towards renewable energy as part of enhancing, making the business efficiency tools available?
Yeah, so Perez, I think SMEs, we call them enterprise banking in at Standard Bank, but it's actually SMMEs. So from the smallest enterprise that is operated by an individual as a sole trader, to a company where you are either a single director or we are multiple directors. It's determined by basically the turnover that you generate as a business. And obviously, as we have initiated a growth phase for you, you get to a stage where you now require additional attention from what you are getting in the enterprise banking space. Then that is when you then become a commercial client. And the way it is in our commercial banking space, there are special relationship managers that are well trained to look after our business. And we allocate a relationship manager to you. And the way we structure it, it's such that the visibility from that RM is there on your part. He is everly available for you. And that is why our categorization of the number of relationships per RMs are meant to ensure that you have got easy access to that RM anytime, and the RM has easy access to you anytime to solution for your needs, Perez.
Of course. And I think, Jose, I also want, just joining in on that part, has the bank made a classifications of businesses that things are financeable in terms of sectors, you know? And I know for sure that the sugar industry is one area that the bank particularly would want to focus on in terms of providing efficiency through renewable energy. But are all the sectors available in our economy sectors that the bank considers financeable, or it's the bank has segmented or created a categorization of industries that believes we can finance, and maybe some others fall outside of that particular categorization?
So as we look at business, Perez, we are open for business in Eswatini. So for us, we have not closed it up to particular segments to say that this particular segment can access or cannot access to finance as far as energy security or enabling energy security is concerned. We have seen an interest from the likes of the sugar industry in terms of opportunities around production, and some of them are already producing. I'm sure you might be aware that Ilova Ubombo already produces electricity, about 40 megawatt if I'm not mistaken. So those ones we are continuing in terms of understanding how they want to leverage, how they want to expand those opportunities. But we are also open as far as our other clients to understand how do we also assist them in terms of enabling energy security, and if there is opportunities that they've identified in terms of how they can actually be enabled, we have opened those opportunities out there. I'll give you an example. You've got retail complexes, obviously, that need to continue being powered, and those opportunities are also tabled to them, you know, to say, okay, as part of what we provide as well, we can also provide energy security as far as what you need going forward. So we are open for business. We are open to all sectors as long as the deal dynamics and the numbers stack up. We are happy, you know, to provide financing for opportunities that are out there.
All right. And then I think I also wanted to because I think the interest here is also to get the market to appreciate from a cash flow management, because I'm asking this question because I know when you go to the bank and say, I need a loan to execute this project, whatever nature the project may be, the bank will look at your cash flow. It will require you to submit financial projections in terms of how it's generating income, you know. And the reason why I think I was asking the question about the segmentation of industries, you know, is to basically understand, for instance, if residential properties or residential or property developers can also benefit from this kind of initiative, you know, and maybe many others, because I think the requirement will be, how are your cash flow projections looking like for the next 3 or 4 years? I don't know if all businesses give you that from the renewable energy point of view.
No, definitely, John. They do give. In fact, cash flow projections are a requirement, but from a business perspective. So from individual perspective, I think we base it on affordability of that specific individual. If that individual has approached us to assist them to own a home, we incorporate if there is a need for instance, solar to power their home, we incorporate it as part of the repayment. We then calculate the extent to which that repayment can be based on. Mostly with individuals, it's based on the age of the individual. Usually we retire at 60. The repayment, if you are still young enough, can be up to 30 years, as an example. With a business, John, again, it's based on the cash flow projection. But the way that we have structured such solutions, we engaged specialists as well to provide some guidance and insights to us, so that we ensure that when a customer says he just wants to pay over 60 months, will it create value for that client in terms of benefits, you know? And if not, we structure the repayment such that the customer at the end of the day does benefit in terms of cutting the cost of energy that is used in his daily operations for his enterprise. For instance, we have given some up to a period of 120 months as an example, based on the way that their business operate. And it has worked out well because they are servicing their obligations very well. At the same time, it has improved their profitability, ultimately aligning to our purpose of existence as a bank, to say that Eswatini is our home, we drive your growth.
Yeah, and I think, like I always said in our opening remarks, Kosi, is that the bank here is positioning itself as a thought leader, as a market leader in this space, but also it is also trying to understand and appreciate the challenges that the country is facing as far as energy security is concerned. You know, as much as we do these initiatives, we also want to help Eswatini to come out better out of initiatives like this. What types of collaborations are in place to ensure that Eswatini fulfills its national grid obligations in terms of energy? We do want to empower businesses to be better in terms of efficiencies, in terms of cash flow and the likes, but the country is also struggling in terms of energy security. How are we collaborating with other stakeholders from an investor attracting point of view to come and do like super large scale projects to make sure that we feed into the national grid, and many others that can also contribute? And I know for sure that we've got a couple of entities within the sugar belt industry that are already doing that. But what types of initiatives or programs or collaborations are in place to help the bank attract investors of those kind that can contribute significantly to the national grid?
Okay, so we have a partnership with IBA, with the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, which also enables us to understand, you know, from an investment attraction, who's coming into the country, who wants to be in the country, and also being able for us to understand what services it is that we can actually provide for them as well. So that's the one aspect of it. And then also when you look at the issue of energy security, John, you also look at what you've mentioned, that yes, you've got the guys in the sugar industry who are also wanting to produce, right? And then you've also got them being clients right now of one of our key stakeholders, which is EEC. And I think one of the things that we need to be cognizant of is that a just energy transition has to be there for us to be able to provide cheaper energy for eMaswati, right? Through generation that comes through possibly, you know, from these companies as well, but also understanding that even from an EEC perspective, there might be impact on their revenues as well. They remain our clients, so we remain concerned, you know, as far as that is concerned, to say, okay, how do we enable, as much as we do want to be continuing to finance some of our clients who are going into production of electricity for their own use, but also into providing onto the grid as well. How then does our partner, EEC, or even the regulator, also ensure that, you know, they don't come out worse off, you know, as we're actually solving for the energy issue or the energy crisis? And the energy crisis, to be honest with you, is not just an Eswatini crisis. It is an African crisis. And so even if, you know, we do go and refinance some of the larger corporations, and we do find that maybe there is an erosion into the profits like your EECs, the bulk of Africa, it is only 2 countries that are actually energy secure as we speak right now. So there's always that opportunity in terms of saying, okay, as we are also financing and ensuring energy security within the country, how do we also enable our partner to also continue growing their market share? It might not be continuing to grow it in Eswatini, because as we become energy secure, we may erode some of those profits. But out into Africa, the opportunities are vast. They are immense in terms of even exporting electricity out of, out of Eswatini as well.
Yeah, and if we look at what we are talking about, and coming from the bank's position, we are actually talking about a product. The renewable energy financing product vis-a-vis the current existing way of generating power within an entity. What are some of the benefits in terms of capitalization, in terms of maintenance cost, in terms of running it? Because I think it would help to help consumers understand or appreciate. It would be easier for somebody to say, I just have to, the only thing I have to do is to wire my building and all those kind of things. And I set up that once-off cost, as opposed to basically the capitalization cost that comes at interest and things like that. We need to give our viewers or our consumers the appreciation of how this is better as a product. Yes, it will help to create energy security, energy sustainability in the country, but now as a product, I think I'll give it to you to try and help us to appreciate it from a product that brings much, much better benefits.
No, thanks. Perez. As I alluded earlier, our approach it's actually ecosystem based, where one of the critical areas of focus is we go in with to the customer, have deep insights about understanding the customer's business, understand the pain points of that business, then solve for those pain points to make that business become better and ultimately create value. So most of the businesses that we interact with, particularly outgrowers in the sugarcane sector, have raised concerns that their electricity costs keep on escalating on a yearly basis, and it accounts for a significant portion of their costs. You know how outgrowers came about in the country. It was subsistence farmers that were convinced to give away their land to farm sugarcane, as an example, because now there are other crops that are being farmed by them. So they've got a responsibility to ensure that the shareholders also benefit out of that, because ultimately you will recall, John, that if you as an individual are employed in a company, you probably support 7 or 10 family members, So the responsibility on our part is then to understand the challenges that these farmers have or the customers have, then solve for that. And the ultimate objective is to ensure that there is an upside in terms of increased productivity, which means there will be increased turnover, then cut down on cost, which means there will be improvement on the bottom line, which is profit. And at the same time, you are able to service the bank obligation without a problem, and you ultimately benefit a whole value chain from family to enterprises who you support in buying implements while you are actually involved in production. So it's not just limited to that company alone, John. It's expansive. The way that we are dependent, interdependencies in families, supporting other family members from the little that I earn. It's what we aim as a bank to achieve, to make meaningful impact in this economy.
Yeah, and perhaps as we head to our commercial break, and as you also head out, I'd like to find out your final thoughts as far as the assistance that the bank provides to those who may need this type of transitioning, And I look at this, and I don't know if somebody else sees it the same way I do. It's largely a technical project to implement because of the capitalization, the resources, the maintenance, and things like that, Do you start and end with the financing part only, or there is a way of hand-holding that particular business or that particular individual in terms of understanding, in terms of managing it? Like you were saying, the cash flow or the cash flow will only feed into the business at a later stage, not imminently when the finance is just being set up, But do you provide a hand-holding session or situation just to try and assist those who are new and trying to make sure that they realize or reap the benefits of the transition to renewable energy?
Oh, definitely, John. It's based on our relationship-based model. It demands that whatever facility, not just energy
Renewable
initiative.
energy,
You walk through with the client to ensure that the customer achieves what he seeks to achieve. But as an addition, specifically along these ones, when you come in as a client or we realize a need for it, we help you by connecting you to other partners, the service providers, the installers of the solar as an example, who come on site to do an inspection, do an analysis, understand the energy requirements of that farm. And that is why it's always important to work with service providers that have been accredited by Standard Bank, because it's ongoing. Even after that has been installed, we want to ensure that the service provider continues to provide the support as per the guidelines of Standard Bank, and is there every time there are challenges that are now impacting the client. And we have emphasized that we accredit the service providers, and we want to work with accredited service providers. It can be anyone, no limitations, but as long as you prove that you have got the ability to provide support before and after, then we're happy to work with you as a service provider, because at the end of the day, it's about the customer. We are also very conscious of the fact that we do not want to finance projects that will fail.
Of course, yeah.
we, you know, our success as a bank is your success as a customer, and we will ensure that we have put in place measures that will ensure that we work with you from the start until the end of the journey, which is when you fully liquidate your responsibilities.
Of course. And I think, Kosi, thank you so much, Mazia. When we come back, we will be talking about policy issues, collaboration, in particular with EEC. But your final thoughts on this first session regarding the financing of this project?
So the financing of these projects, John, is really key for us to enable energy security in Eswatini. And I speak for our bank, for Standard Bank, that we are open for business in terms of enabling clients, and also in terms of helping them navigate the terrain as well. It is terrain all of us are not familiar with. To be honest with you, it's a new frontier if you look at it from an entrepreneur's perspective. And so what we do find is that at times that you've got entrepreneurs as well that are keen and wanting to get into the industry, and we do try and point them into the right direction, even if we may not be able to assist. But we do identify other partners or even development agencies that they can actually work with as we try and solve for energy security in Eswatini. I really think it's one environment where the space or the opportunity for players is still there, be it small-scale players and be it big-time players to come into this energy space.
All right. Kosi, thank you so much for this first half. Mr. Mazia, thank you so much. We are going to take a quick break just for a few minutes, and when we come back, we will be joined by Kaya Mavuso, who heads the corporate unit at Eswatini Electricity Company. They are a major stakeholder in the provision and the energy security space in the Kingdom of Eswatini.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds, full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, to feel the rush of life overwhelm you, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. You ask, and we give you the royal experience. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. There are but a few places on earth so special, so unique, and so spectacular, where it becomes the rite of passage for the ambitious travelers, the courageous souls, to all have the one and only royal experience. experience. That day when you look deep into your heart and leap into an ancient world so very different from your own, where magic, beauty, and love are shared forever. Then you will have a whole experience. There is just one place on earth where the people make you feel a part of their kingdom, where you just might volunteer to awaken spirits, enrich minds, and work alongside communities to build, motivate, and inspire. This is truly the royal experience. When you dream of a different world, beyond the ordinary, beyond time, discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
A very good morning once again, and a warm welcome to this special edition of Standard Bank, where we are discussing issues around the energy security of the country. And we are doing this ahead of the energy Indaba, which is due tomorrow at Royal Villas at Eswatini, where stakeholders are going to be coming on board to engage extensively around the issues of energy security, energy sustainability in the Kingdom of Eswatini. With us on set now, we are joined by Kaya Mavuso, who is a representative from the Eswatini Electricity Company within the Marketing and Communications Department. Kaya, thank you so much for coming through, and a warm welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Kosi, for inviting EEC as a stakeholder in this energy Indaba, and we're looking forward to quite an extensive discussion during the Indaba tomorrow.
Of course, and I think I'll go back just a little bit with you, Kaya, in terms of the country's desire to be energy secure. What does that mean, and what has your company done to ensure that Eswatini achieves a certain measure of energy security?
One of the biggest challenges that we have as a country, not as a business alone, is the shortage of internal generation capacity. We do not have enough electricity to even supply the basic need, which is the basic load for the country, for us to be sustainable on our own without relying on imports from neighboring countries or even within the Southern African power pool. Government has given us that mandate to say, EEC, work as much as you can to ensure the sustainability of energy in the country. We established a 5-year strategy. We call it Vutsela 2022 to 2027. One of the major objectives of the strategy is to increase the generation capacity of the Eswatini Electricity Company so that we can reduce our reliance on imports. That's the major item that we are focusing on. And obviously it hinges around a lot of collaboration and a lot of sourcing funding from other stakeholders.
Of course. And I think it's been a while now since you made some observation with regards to what's happening within the financial service space regarding the financing of alternative sources of energy, like renewable energy. And I think one of the stakeholders within the set here today is Standard Bank, which is your partner, and I believe has positioned itself as a thought leader. And how does that relationship come out to you? Is it a relationship that puts you outside of your comfort zone? Are you at ease seeing them financing sources of energy outside of what you do? Because one may perceive this as way of corroding or eating up into your profits. If you finance alternative source, it means lesser use of what the source of energy that you are using. What is your view of this development in the finance space in the market?
John, I'll start from saying that our company was established in 1963. Looking at the years that we have been in business, we haven't been able to satisfy the baseload for the country. Now, this speaks to changing a mindset. Our Vutsela strategy is actually focusing on that, to say, over the years, we have tried and we haven't been successful. It must be noted that the business that we're involved in is highly capital intensive. There's serious money that is involved in this business. Understandably so, when you look at our funding structure, we get money from the tariff that we get from our customers, and customers have been complaining that the economy is not okay, it's not performing well, and if there are increased costs in terms of the tariff, it affects production, it affects the GDP of the country. Now, as a business, as much as we're focused on doing business in the country, government has given us a mandate to say you are supposed to provide electricity to the Kingdom of Eswatini. And while doing that, we are cognizant of the fact that it has an effect on our operational profits. It has an effect on how we conduct our business, how we reach out to our customers. However, what is critical is that the issue that we're facing as a country in terms of energy supply is not only for Eswatini alone, but we've seen the problems that our neighboring countries are facing. We've seen the problems within the region. It's a Southern African regional problem. And within the Southern African power pool, there is that mandate to say, guys, within your working environments, within your spaces, what is it that you can do to make a collaborative effort? Now, when we're looking at our partners such as Standard Bank, we're looking at opportunities to say, as a business, who else can we partner with? Because we're faced with a national crisis, we're faced with a regional crisis, and therefore we cannot fold our arms, but we are opening our arms to say, partners that are available to assist, let us work together on that front. There are different levels, of course, of our operations. I'll make an example, John, that we recently completed and are awaiting a final report on a small-scale embedded generators program, which says businesses that can generate something like 1 megawatt of power, if they can sell the excess, put the excess into the electricity grid, then automatically it means if our neighboring countries are facing challenges, we'll still have a bit of electricity to satisfy other business ventures within the Kingdom of Eswatini. Apart from that, John, the company has opened up opportunities for independent power producers. I think Kosi has mentioned some of those key players in that space. We're looking for more to say if they can partner with EEC, if they are allowed within the regulatory space, then they can come through so that we build the base, the generation capacity within the kingdom and reduce the import costs. One of the key costs that the company is experiencing are import costs. That is what significantly hits the business in terms of cash flow projections. At some point in time, we literally have challenges meeting our obligations because of the increased costs. When you look at the tariff, comparing it to other countries where we import, the ratio is not the same, which means there's an effect and it affects our service delivery at the end of the day, which is why we're saying within the partners that we have, let us put resources together, let us collaborate to actually improve on what we do. One of the things we normally say, John, when we're doing our customer education is to say, which company that is in a business that will tell you that I'm selling a product, but I'm asking you not to use that product as much as you want to use it.
And that's what's currently happening.
That is what is currently happening. Why are we saying that, John? Because we understand our responsibility in our society to say, as much as we're providing, as much as we're in a business, but let us look at the end product. Let us look at the customer to say, how are we contributing to the gross domestic product of the country?
Yeah, thank you so much for that elaborate explanation, Kaya. Because I would want to strengthen that collaboration issue between stakeholders, not just with EEC. But I am compelled right now to just, before I get into that part, to speak into issues of capacity in terms of the opportunities that are available to venture into the renewable energy space to make our country energy secure. Are we in a position in terms of the resources to produce enough, to feed into the national grid to make our country energy secure? If you look at our biomass capacity, our solar capacity to produce, and especially from a business point of view, I know that not all geographic locations in the country have that capacity to produce your solar energy. I don't know if that's the information you have as well, but do we have that capacity, from a business point of view, from a resources point of view?
Okay. And I think from a resources point of view, I'll talk money. We provide money as a business, right? From a resources point of view, we have the resources. And when I say we have the resources as Standard Bank, obviously we've got limitations based on regulatory requirements in terms of how much we can actually finance. But we partner as well in terms of providing those resources. We partner with our pension funds, we partner with development financiers as well, for us to be able to provide the funding that's actually required for some of these projects. These projects, John, are big, to your point, and we're looking at billions in terms of financing them and actually ensuring that we've actually got these projects on the ground. Some of the suppliers or some of the independent power producers obviously have got their own raw materials in terms of them being able to execute on, and I'll take biomass for an example, that one of our clients already has their own biomass in terms of their ability to be able to produce. Some of our other clients are also thinking in terms of, okay, if I possibly am not able to get my biomass from client X, who's also going to be going into production, what are the alternative sources of biomass that I can actually look at in terms of being able to actually look at that? As far as some of the feasibility studies are concerned, we are aware that some of our clients have done feasibility studies around solar, around wind, around, where is it exactly in the country that they can actually place those particular opportunities. So our clients are actually leveraging the climate, they're actually leveraging where they are located in terms of even some of the natural resources for them to be able to execute on these renewable energy projects. So I really believe that we are a resource-rich country, resource-rich from land in terms of being able to even produce additional biomass if that is actually required, for energy production as well, and resource-rich as well as the resources as well.
Of course. And I think, Kaya, it is so interesting to me, and probably to a lot of business people to have EEC not look at the collaboration or the partnership as a threat to the business, where alternative sources are now coming into the market, whereas previously or conventionally someone would think, this ought to be a threat, EEC ought to look at this as an anti-competition practice and things like that, But what role could your company, EEC, play in terms of trying to encourage participation into the renewable energy space, especially now seeing that it also contributes positively towards the growth and the sustainability of the Eswatini Electricity Company?
This is an opportunity for us rather than a threat, because we understand that if we work collectively, then we're going to meet the requirements of the country's base load. When we speak about collaboration, we speak about EEC recently completing a 10 megawatt solar power plant in Lavumisan. This is basically a pilot that EEC can be used as an example to say, if someone wants to establish something similar, they will come to EEC as a case study, then they can approach the banking institution to seek for funding. We can attest to that this was a success. So that's why we're saying it's a partnership, because if that particular independent power producer is able to set up a magnitude scale of that level, then we're going to be able to use internal generation sources. Recently, I mentioned that we completed a feasibility study of the small-scale embedded generators. that feedback can be used to actually even convince other companies to venture into that opportunity. There are also opportunities, I think, in the newspaper today, if not yesterday, we published an expression of interest where we're also looking at electric gas-powered vehicles, where we're saying we're looking for someone to establish a base point for those electric vehicles for their charging stations. That's an opportunity. EEC may not have the funding to actually run those opportunities, but if we're in collaboration, then we're able to reduce our carbon footprint and also ensure sustainability of the energy environment. Those are some of the areas that we are looking at. We are also exploring as a company increasing our hydro power stations. One of them being an expansion of the Makuka hydro power station by about 33 megawatts. That's part of a success story that we're looking at, and it requires a lot of funding. EEC is looking at those opportunities for that funding. Apart from that, we're also looking at using natural gas for power generation. It's a huge project that can contribute towards the base load for their country, and it requires a lot of financing, which is why EEC is partnering, taking opportunity in these initiatives, because we do really need that kind of collaboration for funding for such projects.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts, Kaya, going into the Energy Indaba tomorrow?
Oh, definitely the Energy Indaba is an opportunity to speak about these issues. We've had discussions at individual, at smaller group levels, but with this platform we are looking at all the partners, whether it's a regulator, independent power producers, funders, businesses. What is it that you can do collaboratively? And that is where EEC, the managing director, will be disclosing some of the opportunities that are there, some of the collaborative efforts that are available, and we're looking forward to a successful engagement where we can speak about the issues at hand, and obviously closing the gaps in terms of the technical aspects of the requirements of the energy space in Eswatini, as well as the regulatory environment. Because yes, we're saying people can venture into independent power production, but it has to be aligned with the requirements, the technical requirements of EEC, because at the end of the day, EEC will have to make sure that the network is fully operational. And remember, we work in partnership with the Southern African Power Pool. That's where we'll disclose even further what opportunities are there. We know that we've got existing contracts. There's an issue of our contracts with some of our suppliers. That has been a topical issue, and we want to further clarify that. And there is a huge opportunity there, in that if we are able to generate enough electricity internally, we have an opportunity to actually sell within the Southern African region, which could then cushion the issues of the costs as well, which is why I was saying we're not looking at businesses venturing into their own energy power generation, but we're looking at an opportunity to say, where can we fit in during that process as an opportunity where we're going to coordinate the flow within the Southern African Power Pool grid.
Thank you so much, Kaya. And just a quick one, Kosi, I have two questions for you just before we round it up. It would be easy for us to be all technical and say energy security, and not break it down. Where are the sources of energy? And I think one of those is solar energy, which is the energy derived from the sun. But what are the other sources of alternative energy?
So the other sources of alternative energy, at least the ones we are seeing that are being used, hydro is one of those sources of alternative energy. Obviously, it's got its upside, it's got its downside. Upside, when there's water, that's great. Downside, you know, in terms of the unavailability of the water, in terms of drought, then it becomes a downside in that aspect. Biomass, obviously, that's coming through. If you look at companies such as Montigny, who've got wood chips, they've already got raw materials in terms of producing biomass. There's also other raw materials out there that you can actually look at in terms of production, in terms of biomass as well. Wind is another one. in terms of opportunities and just understanding in terms of wind turbines, where those can actually be put up as well. In addition to that, there's also the aspect of storage as well, because we're looking at production, but if we look at the challenges that we're faced with as well, storage is critical as far as storing electricity after it's actually been produced. So that also provides an opportunity from a renewable energy perspective in terms of production and even storing and then selling later. And I think to Kaya's point, the opportunity is vast regionally across Africa, where even if there is investment in that storage as well, it then will enable us to actually to provide and also to price as well, because it's a free market in terms of pricing of electricity, where you're able to actually get really good and positive gains out of that.
Yeah, and in 3 minutes, Kosi, we are heading to the Energy Indaba tomorrow.
Yeah.
Various stakeholders coming on board. What do you hope that this Energy Indaba achieves? You are the pioneers, you are the initiators of this Energy Indaba as Standard Bank. What do you hope that ultimately this Indaba will achieve?
So we're so excited about this Indaba because, John, one, not only are we bringing our partners such as EEC or ESERA, government is on board as well. And when I say government is on board, the Minister of Natural Resources will also be gracing the event. The Minister of Finance as well will also be at the event, and possibly the Minister of Commerce as well. And what we are saying as Standard Bank is that this energy security issue is an issue that is critical for us as a country. It is critical for us from an economic security perspective, because not only are we enabling energy security, but enabling energy security, we're also looking at economic security for the country. We're looking at us bringing in investment into Eswatini and ensuring that ease of doing business is positive for us in Eswatini. So Eswatini remains relatively a safe environment and peaceful environment in terms of investment and investment opportunities. And for us as Standard Bank to be at the forefront of this particular conversation is key, because we want Eswatini to be an investment destination, but also we want to be sure that there is energy security, John, not for ourselves, but also for generations to come. Because if we can enable energy security now and be able to produce a secure energy within our country, we know that going forward there's security for generations to come. And then also the opportunity that comes out of it. Kaya has mentioned that this is not just an Eswatini issue. As Standard Bank, we are seeing a new frontier. We're seeing new opportunities for EEC and also for Eswatini that are wanting to go into renewable energy. So it is really for the takers at this particular point in time who will see the opportunity as far as renewable energy and getting into that particular space.
Kosi, thank you so much. Kaya, thank you so much, my brother. And I do hope that your involvement in the Energy Indaba tomorrow will yield the desired results and especially feed into your strategic goals as an organization. Kosi, thank you so much. And to Mbongeni, who is no longer on set with us, thank you so much for coming through, and we wish you the best during the course of the Energy Indaba tomorrow.
Thank you, John.
Eswatini, thank you so much for joining us in this particular special conversation we've had with representatives from Standard Bank, Kosi Alabai and Mbongeni Mazia, who work for respective departments within the bank, and Kaya Mavuso, who works for the Communications and Marketing Department. Do join the conversation again tomorrow on Standard Bank's LinkedIn page as well as their YouTube page. The conversation entails stakeholders coming on board to discuss issues affecting and that could possibly overcome the challenges and also bring at the forefront opportunities for all of us in the market. My name is John Perez. Thank you so much for once again for joining us, and we do hope to see you tomorrow at the Energy Indaba. Goodbye.